What is up, everyone? Welcome back. It's been a while. I no longer have blonde hair from the last video, result of a bad bet. As promised from the last video, this video will be an overview on how you can make a reliable and borderline unbreakable internet system for your van or RV. We're going to go over a few of the different solutions that I tried, what I am currently running, and when I use certain internet systems. My big claim for this video is that this internet system that I'm running right now will get me reliable internet that is fast and usable for work, gaming, streaming, anything that I really need anywhere in the United States. So today I'm going to cover 5 different internet options broken into 3 different groups based on your budget and internet needs. The first group is going to be free or low cost internet options. It's important to note for anyone looking to work full-time or even part-time out of their van, the low cost and free options aren't exactly reliable enough for full-time work. Now these are great options for content creators or casual internet browsers or users, people who are just traveling in their van and need a lower budget option. The second group is what I feel is the best cellular internet solution, and the third group is my review of Starlink after using it for the past 5 months. The second and third group are what I highly recommend individuals look into for internet if you are looking to work full-time or even part-time from your van. I'll break these groups into chapters in the video so you can easily reference different parts of the video quickly. Before I begin today's video, make sure you have subscribed to this channel, as I have a long backlog of videos that I intend on uploading here in the near future. I have a lot of information I've planned out on sharing, so by being subscribed, you get notified as soon as I upload the newest video. Now, in my case, I am a software engineer as a day job, so I need reliable internet anywhere I am, ready to use whenever I am in the van. You'll hear me use the word reliable over and over in this video because that's the key goal that we're aiming for here. Reliable internet. Anytime you go to your van or RV, you are able to connect to the internet. Now, most of you are used to home internet, which is in a fixed location and usually pretty consistent. Now your van or RV moves around quite a bit, and just like with your cell phone that moves quite a bit, you might not always have signal if you rely on just one internet source. So starting off with option 1 is your mobile phone for a hotspot. Now your mobile phone hotspot would be a good option for those people who are just looking to occasionally stream Netflix, check their email, or scroll Instagram. Otherwise, if you're just traveling in your van, maybe as a weekend warrior, mobile hotspot on your phone would work for you. However, there are a few limitations. Most phone carriers put a limit onto how much data you can use on a hotspot per month, even if you have an unlimited plan. If you run your hotspot, usually it's around 20 gigs a month. Once you hit that 20 gig limit, they'll throttle your speed, slowing it really far down to the point where you might not be able to reliably connect to the internet to work. The second issue that you'll run into is that a van is a closed metal box, also known as what's called a Faraday cage. Now, a Faraday cage blocks some of the cell signal going out. You're not going to get the best internet while you're in the van unless you have an antenna that is outdoors. So when would you even notice a Faraday cage? Now, if you're around most major cities, you're going to find that you have good enough cell service. But as you migrate out to some campsites, some mountains, maybe you're at a ski resort, you might notice that your cell service starts to take a nosedive. Right when you have kind of like 2 bars or less of cell service, that's when you'll notice a Faraday cage really hits you. I recently broke down in Montana and I had 1 bar of cell service that would constantly go into SOS mode. I was trying to call a tow truck and the phone call was not connecting. It's because I was in the van in a Faraday cage. As soon as I stepped out of the van and maybe 5 feet away, I had much better cell reception. This both applies to cell reception as well as your data plan. So unless you have a cell booster that is a antenna going off the top of your van, you're not going to have the best internet running your cell phone as a hotspot. And for those of you working a day job from your van, it's really not a viable option, being that you have that data limit and you could run over your data limit depending on what you do for work. Now, option 2 is something I considered heavily as a primary option for when I was moving into a van, and that would be getting a mobile hotspot. In my hand is the Netgear Nighthawk M6. Now this is a mobile hotspot, and I'll link this in the description below. Now this is basically a dedicated hotspot where you plug a SIM card in, and it has a little battery pack in it, and so you can then have a wireless internet source from anywhere. Now, this being a dedicated hotspot, depending on what cellular plan you get, you won't run into the data limit issue that you'll find with your cell phone. However, you still will run into the Faraday cage issue where you will notice that this hotspot will not perform as well when you're in the van as opposed to when you took it outside. That being said, you do have, because it's battery powered, the flexibility to take it anywhere, which in my case was a really cool solution where I could go to more places and have reliable internet anywhere I go. Additionally, because it's USB-C powered, you can take the battery out and run it on a wall charger for internet that doesn't have the time limit of whatever your battery capacity is. Now, your experience with something like this might vary depending on what data plan you get, and I will talk about possible options for this later on in the video where I tie in where I get my data plans from. That leads me to option 3, where I'll briefly touch upon public Wi-Fi sources. Public Wi-Fi sources are free and convenient, however, they can't always be counted on. I would leave public Wi-Fi sources as a reliable source of internet to only content creators and those who are looking for the weekend warrior type of lifestyle in van life. My reasoning for saying this is that most employers do not allow you to work off of a public Wi-Fi source. Is because they're typically not very secure. Now, internet speeds may vary if you're working at like a Starbucks or a public library, and depending on how busy it is there, you can't really rely on how fast the internet will be. That being said, if you're looking to work full-time remote from your van or RV, public internet is not really a viable option. Next, we're going to talk about the internet solution that I feel best resembles home internet and is the best value out of all the options here. This option includes getting a solution from MobileMustHave.com. I'll attach the link below. Now, they did not sponsor this video, and this is just genuinely me giving positive feedback on using them as a resource. They have internet mobile solutions of all different types on their website, and I landed on the Road Warrior V2 bundle. Now, this includes a cellular router, which can combine multiple different cellular data plans together to get one consistent cellular Wi-Fi signal. Now, part of this bundle includes an antenna which goes on the roof, and that gets us around the entire Faraday cage issue. Additionally, with this dual SIM card router, you get the ability to tether in other internet solutions. At the end of the video, I'm going to show you guys how you can combine that cellular data plan along with Starlink to get a combo satellite and cellular internet solution. So with that Road Warrior V2 bundle, you get a Max Transit Pro Duo. This dual SIM card modem router can have up to 2 SIM card data plans on it. So I basically have a T-Mobile data plan and a Verizon data plan, and those are both provided by MobileMustHave.com. Now on MobileMustHave.com, this is under their cellular data plan menu tab, and they market it by the color of the brand. It has to do with Verizon and T-Mobile don't want MobileMustHave.com to use their actual names. I have the P800 plan, which I believe now is the P500 or the P1000. I think I got grandfathered into the P800 plan, and the R300 plan. And that's just what use cases fit me best. Now you can pay a little bit more and you can get unthrottled 5G speeds. I don't actually have the 5G speeds. I just wanted consistent internet. I don't really game that often, and with the ping being so high with this internet solution, it didn't really make sense to me to get the fastest speeds. I just wanted consistent internet. So I usually get anywhere from 15 to 20 megs down in more rural areas, say near ski areas, or when I'm kind of out exploring on a mountain bike. And when I'm more towards a city, I get closer to 100, 120 megabits per second down, and some pretty good upload speeds to go with that too. Most importantly, this internet solution runs on 12 volt, so any 12 volt power source. That can be from a cigarette lighter, or for my case, it's my house battery bank. And it really doesn't use up much power at all, with a max power usage of 18 watts and an average power usage of 10 watts. So on a 12 volt system, that's roughly 3/4 of an amp to 1 1/4 of an amp. Now, one big downside of the Road Warrior V2 bundle, along with other MobileMustHave bundles, is that they do have a higher associated cost in that you have to purchase a few different pieces of hardware. However, that internet solution has a great combination of a low power consumption and delivers a very, very consistent internet signal, which I can rely on 95, if not 100% of the time for full-time work anywhere in the US. So to help with that, with the link below, That includes a 5% discount to help alleviate some of the costs. The other great thing about this solution is that this bundle comes with a Parsec cellular receiver, which I mounted on top of the roof. Please pardon my poor water sealing job. I'm not personally the best at it, but I can promise you that this solution is watertight. Now, this does a great job of picking up internet signals in even the most remote of places. I will constantly have internet at times when I don't have any cell service inside the van. So iMessage will still go through while I'm in SOS and connected to my van internet. I felt that this wasn't very hard to install, and if you've installed something like a Max Air fan in your van, this will be much easier. It was just so much as drilling one hole for the cables to pass through in the roof, and then pressing the adhesive-lined cell receiver down onto that hole, and putting a line of silicone sealant around the cell receiver. I probably use this internet solution the most, as it is relatively low power consumption, and once you set it up, it's really kind of a set it and forget it type of solution. You can, with this internet solution, choose which cell towers you are pinging off of if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of it, and that can help you with better speeds or lower ping. If you do plan to run multiple data SIM cards, MobileMustHave has their Speed Fusion Cloud, which is a virtual private cloud. So what that results in is a very consistent and reliable speed. However, it has a relatively high ping. So for any gamers who are watching this, this isn't the best solution for you. I'm looking at typically a ping of around 100 to 120. However, I'm also looking at speeds anywhere from 20 megabits down up to 100 plus megabits down, depending on how close I am to a more populated area. I found that this internet solution works better in populated areas, but for working full time, I only really need 5 to 10 megabits per second down, and that is good enough for me to be on video if I need to for Teams or Zoom calls, or to submit code when I'm done working for the day. I can usually just leave an upload going if I have to upload a lot of photo or video files overnight, because the internet is running 24/7. Now, MobileMustHave has a couple of different packages. I particularly have the Road Warrior V2, but there is a Speed Demon package, which enables you to have unlimited, unthrottled 5G speeds. So if speed is a much bigger factor, if you really need the best and you have the money to spend, take a look at a couple of the different bundles they have on their website. I'll link it below. But from personal experience, as someone who works full-time doing Teams calls and working on the internet all day, the Road Warrior V2 is a perfect full-time internet solution for the most part for most van people. Now, that being said, it does not work perfectly everywhere. If you're looking to work full-time from a national park, satellite internet might be a better solution for you. And that leads me to talk about Starlink. Now, let's talk about Starlink. For those of you who haven't seen my previous video, I run my Starlink permanently mounted to my roof on 12 volt power. Now, out of the box, Starlink runs off of 120 volt power, which is less efficient to run when you have a 12 volt battery bank. Now, I'll link that video down below here, as well as at the end of the video for you to watch if you are curious about how I run Starlink off of 12 volt power. Now, for those of you who have the Gen 2 Starlink, you will be familiar with this long setup time that it took for you to get out your Starlink, put it somewhere flat, and then it has to turn the head and find signal, and that would take up to 15 minutes to connect to the internet, which for me was way too slow. If I'm driving somewhere and I have a meeting at 9 and my ETA is at 8:55, I want to be able to park, join my meeting, and start my workday. The internet just working whenever I need it. So with this Gen 3 of Starlink, I can run it on 12 volt and it's permanently mounted to my roof, so it'll just connect anytime I give it power. The one change I've made since the previous video is I did add a power switch to my Starlink because Starlink is my greatest energy draw out of all the internet sources. It consumes on average about 55 to 60 watts, which is equivalent to 4.5 to 5 amps. Now, I have quite a bit of battery power at 824 amp hours of lithium batteries, but even then I'll find that takes up close to 10 to 20% of my battery if I leave it running for 10 to 15 hours on a given day, including my work day, some video editing, and maybe some light gaming if I feel like playing Call of Duty with the boys at the end of the day. Now, the great thing about Starlink is that you can suspend it whenever you don't need it. So for now, I am home for the fall in New Hampshire. I don't really feel like I'll be needing Starlink, so I can suspend my service for a given month and then reactivate it, and internet will work fairly soon thereafter. I know this from experience. When I had it suspended and I was going to a place that had no cell service, I reactivated my Starlink account and I had satellite internet available within probably 20 minutes of reactivating, which I found pretty impressive. Now, I just this week got an email that Starlink is approving all Gen 3 models for in-motion use. And if you watched my last video, I was very pleasantly surprised to find that you can use Starlink in motion even if you just have the Gen 3. I'm not quite sure about the Mini, but I would assume that one works in motion as well. However, this also gave Starlink an excuse to raise the rate. So Starlink comes in at $165 per month for the roaming subscription, which gets you internet anywhere in the US, and I have found in southern parts of Canada as well. Now, at $165 a month, that is a pretty premium price, and it costs you quite a bit in electricity as well. These are factors that should go into your consideration for what internet source you primarily use when you start off van life looking at internet solutions. In contrast, my T-Mobile plan is $140 per month, and my Verizon plan is $110 per month. MobileMustHave, at the time of recording this video, gives a $10 discount if you have more than one line open with them. So currently I do have 2 data plans with MobileMustHave as well as Starlink. Stick around to the end of this video though, as I'm about to go into a few internet alternatives and combinations to get rock solid internet, and I'll share a bit about what my internet solution is going to be looking forward. So one big plus about Starlink are the speeds are incredible. For satellite internet, they typically get up to 100 to 200 megabits per second down, and I'm shocked at Starlink's latency. They've been working hard on getting that ping down, but I typically see a ping of anywhere from 15 to 20 milliseconds, which is incredible. It's the speed of a normal home internet. So for any gamers watching, I'm typically playing Call of Duty on Starlink, and it is as good, if not better, than most people's home internet. A big downside here is that Starlink does need a clear view of the sky. One of the things I was heavily testing over the past 5 months of using Starlink permanently mounted on the roof is that if I am parking at a campsite, typically campsites have a lot of trees around them, and even the smallest bit of tree coverage would interrupt or slow down or otherwise make my Starlink connection inconsistent. In my opinion, Starlink is the best solution for people looking to live van life in the middle of the US or in the southern bits of the US where there are fewer trees, a bit more flat ground. But as you kind of get out towards the coasts, either the west coast or the east coast, you do get a little bit more variability with mountains and trees and how much open sky there is for the Starlink to connect to. Now, that being said, I have not yet found a place where Starlink refuses to connect. As I mentioned, it works pretty flawlessly while moving, except for when you pass under the occasional bridge. And it is the only internet solution that works for me when I am at a national park, maybe out backpacking, and I want to send out a text to parents and friends that I am either leaving or I've arrived back at the van, safe and sound, as well as the only internet solution that works when I take the occasional trip to Canada. Spent some time in Whistler this summer, and my MobileMustHave solution did not work in Canada, while my Starlink worked flawlessly. Now, with Starlink using a bit more power than my cellular internet solution, I pretty typically find myself using my cellular internet solution as my primary source of internet, and Starlink where cell signal might not be so good. Now, I screen recorded the interface for the Max Transit Pro Duo in order to show you guys how you can combine cellular internet and satellite internet using the interface that Peplink has provided. One important thing to note here is that I have my Starlink connected directly to my cellular router via Ethernet cable, so I can connect my satellite internet directly to the wide area network port. I can set a priority, so maybe I want cell priority to T-Mobile if I feel that that's the best in the area, followed by Verizon, and then third followed by Starlink. Alternatively, if I want Starlink to be my primary source of internet with cell internet as a backup, say I'm driving through a heavily wooded area or a highway with lots of bridges. This way I can have perfectly uninterrupted internet for if I have a business meeting or I have to have a internet-based call somewhere while moving. Or alternatively, if I have a long upload that requires consistent internet. Ultimately, I do try to use my Starlink more during the day when solar charging also plays a factor. That way I can kind of keep an eye on how much battery power I am using in case there's a cloudy day coming up or I'm not planning on driving for a while. Now, in the past 2 years of living in the van, combining Gen 2, Gen 3 of Starlink, as well as my 2 data plans, I do feel that that has been quite overkill. Moving forward, I have asked MobileMustHave to suspend my Verizon data plan as I feel that I just simply do not need it. Now, the nice thing about MobileMustHave is that they will suspend your data plan and you can either pay $10 a month to maintain the same price monthly as when you started. And now I haven't seen any price increases at the prices that they have listed. They have changed their plans around a little bit, but I didn't feel like I need to lock in my price, so I can suspend it free of charge for indefinitely until I feel that I need it again. And once I need to reactivate it, I simply send them an email, and their customer service team has been phenomenal, and they reactivate the SIM card that is in my router. And that sums up the entirety of all of the internet solutions I have tried. Now, if you have other internet solutions, or if you have questions about something that I covered or may have missed, please feel free to use the comment section below as a fully fledged discussion board. As with my last video, I try to keep up with the comments and respond to as many comments as I can. While I don't pretend to know everything, I had all sorts of types of people in my last video, everyone from electricians to other tradesmen to first-time van builders and experienced van builders, all comment and add great questions as an awesome info board for viewers to learn even more from outside of my video. I hope as this channel progresses, we can keep using the comment section as a great place to learn, as I don't always cover everything in my videos, but I try to do my best in sharing as much information as possible with a broad audience. If there are any internet solutions here that you would like me to go on a deeper dive into, I'm happy to do so. Leave that comment down below, and based on interest, that kind of just helps me guide where to dive into next as far as my backlog of videos that I plan on making for this channel. Otherwise, make sure you're subscribed to this channel, as I will continue to keep sharing as much info as possible. I try to make these videos based around the information that I wish I had as I started out my van life journey. My next video will be an overview on my entire electrical system and a lot of the choices I made around that system. So be sure that you are subscribed to this channel, that way you do not miss out. Catch you on the next one.